Hi, we're talking about words again today because I like doing it and I want to. I have not had an interaction with another real human in 7 months.
I've always been really fascinated by logo design. I know it's stupid, I could be doing better things with my time, like I could be finding a cure for chickenpox, but no, instead I care about what the letter H looks like. But logos have always been interesting to me, since you have to convey the gist of your entire company or product through just a few letters, a typeface, and maybe some extra visual flair if you feel like it. I just really like analyzing different logos and noticing what works and what doesn't. It's not really something a lot of people notice, but even still, having a good logo versus a bad one can make all the difference.
It might be stupid, but this is what I think about. So let's look at some video game logos. Now, I have talked video game logos in the past, which brings us to the end of this sentence. But before we look at the logos I haven't talked yet, why don't we do a little check-in on the series we looked at last time?
Super Mario Bros. Wonder came out not too long ago, and Man, I was really hoping that moving away from the new Super Mario Bros. Series would also mean moving away from the stale, rubber look of that series' logos too. No, adding a wavy, colorful word underneath does not change anything. I said it last time, but this font in this style doesn't feel like Mario. And with all the crazy shit Wonder's got going on, this definitely doesn't fit. And the thought of 3D Mario getting the fun logos while 2D Mario was stuck with this from now on is deeply disturbing. I really hope there's a change up for the next game. And there's a lot of different directions you could go. Go back to the classic Mario font, ditch all the 3D effects, and go back to solid colors. You could even use a completely different font. Or you could do my personal favorite, add color! This is Super Mario. When I think Super Mario, I don't think white text on a black background. This isn't the fucking Last of Us. I don't think this accomplished what I wanted it to. Anyways, it is not at all surprising that just coloring the Mario Bros text breathes so much more life into any of these designs, really. Just please, Nintendo, if I see this godforsaken new Super Mario Bros font again, I will remove my own spine. Oh, speaking of which, Mortal Kombat got a new game. This is extremely disappointing. I really liked Mortal Kombat 11's logo. Not because it was anything all that special, but because you could do this with it. It was adorable. And because this is the exact same thing, just missing a 1, I mean, it kinda works, just not as well. It's probably why they shorten it like this instead. Look, I know whining about this is the most pointless thing ever, and this was really something that only works with the number 11. Or Roman numeral 2, actually, so this design might make a comeback with Mortal Kombat 2 in a few years. Man, they really backed themselves into a corner with this name, didn't they? While we're on the topic of fighting games, Street Fighter 6
He's having my children!
What? What do you mean you don't see it? They show it off at the end of every trailer. Look, we got the 6 shape, right? But if we back it up just a little, someone give the graphic designers at Capcom a kiss and a raise because they are killing it with sneaking Roman numerals into logos. The VI helps make up the shape of the 6, which itself is a hexagon. I cannot stress enough how damn happy this makes me. This specifically because I wish the actual Street Fighter text was a little more stylized. I get what they were going for, a more sporty look, but this game does have a very strong visual style, and I wish the logo leaned into that a little more. Hell, the Capcom logo gets graffitied at the beginning of every trailer. Why couldn't the logo of the actual game get the same treatment? Resident Evil's been getting some remakes lately. They are all pretty much in line with each other. Bit of a shame they didn't continue to highlight the Roman numerals like they did with 7 and 8, though. It would have been really cool to see the entire series in this style when they finish these. Admittedly, some of these numbers don't work as well in this logo as others, but I still think it would have been neat to see the whole series like this. Sega's got a Sonic Generations remaster with some side content dealing with Shadow and the... Okay, I have thoughts about this. I don't think... No. This is so much. Every single aspect of this looks like it has nothing to do with anything else. The cheap flat-looking shading, the symbol replacing the O that's a different shade of red, has different shading than the rest of the letters, and this random texture none of the other letters have, and the big intrusive cross with this super distracting glow effect. And it sucks because I really like the original Generations logo. It's one of my favorite Sonic logos. And now what could end up being the definitive version of the game, I'm not holding my breath considering how the last remaster went, is gonna get stuck with this garbage. However, I will say, I do not envy the graphic designer who had to put this together, because part of why this logo is so bad is because the name of the game itself kinda sucks. Putting shadow in the title makes it really hard to blend all these words together cohesively. But I tried my best, and this is what I came up with. Honestly, it turned out way better than I was expecting it to. Is it perfect? No, of course not. Putting the Sonic and Shadow next to each other means the biggest word in the logo is Generations, which is not where the emphasis should be. And while I did try to match the original, the 3D effects still feel a bit off. But overall, I'm really happy with this. I like having the blue background be one solid shape. It really ties the Sonic and Generations together, making it read more as Sonic Generations plus a little extra. And of course, it actually looks like Sonic Generations. Why would you try and remove yourself from this look for just a remaster? How do you even actually say this title? Sonic Cross Shadow Generations? Sonic X Shadow? Sonic and Shadow? No, I got it. It's a math equation. Sonic times Shadow divided by Generations equals
a flawless transition to the next topic.
The problem with crossover logos is that you have to take two series' logos that have nothing to do with each other and tell them to get over themselves, to varying degrees of effectiveness. Sometimes series' logos are similar enough to each other that it's really not that much of an issue. Like, I remember being 10 years old and playing Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Game and thinking, why did they use the same font for Mario and Sonic? Doesn't Sonic have his own logo? And then I looked a little closer, and here we are today. So yeah, Mario and Sonic's logos play nice enough with each other. The rest of this, I'm not so sure. Like, I get it when the title of your game is
21 syllables, Jesus Christ.
and there's only so much you can do. You know what? I'll give it up. I think they made it work. These may be a bit overwhelming, but they still look nice. And impressive too. The fact that they were able to put together two different series' logos, all these words, and incorporate their corresponding Olympics visual styles, and still look this good. Whoever designed this deserves
a gold medal? Come on, me, you're better than this.
So now that we've seen an example of a crossover where the series fit well together, let's look at Marvel vs. Capcom. Yeah, this is more what I was talking about. Marvel and Capcom have vastly different logos, which begs the question, how do you put these together in the same logo? You don't, apparently. Or I guess you give up after 2 tries? Look, I get companies would like to have their very specific branding on every project they're a part of, but come on! Again, I understand, these logos are very different from each other. Marvel has thick sans serif lettering and a big red box around it, and Capcom has thinner serif lettering with a blue outline. But blue and red complement each other very well, so if you can let go of your ego for 5 damn seconds and tweak your logos to match each other even just a little bit and tie the whole thing together with some extra visual flair, you'll have a much nicer and cohesive logo. Cough, cough. Don't even get me started on Ultimate Marvel 3. Yeah, you know what this logo really needed? A 5th font! Here, can I try? Okay, wow, that was significantly harder than I thought it was gonna be. And yeah, it doesn't look great, but I'd argue it's better to try and fail than to do nothing. And I still think this design helps prove that even if 2 logos are very different, if you stylize them similarly, they can still work well together. Although if we're being honest, the first 2 games logos demonstrate this fact better. But again, companies don't want to do that because they have a cohesive look for their brand that they want to keep cohesive. And I can respect that, it's just, now you have to live with it when it doesn't work. My god, this is hideous. But even something like Puyo Puyo Tetris, these logos are super different, but something as simple as a consistent shade of blue helps tie the whole look together. Wait, what the hell? I didn't notice. What did they do this? Tetris actually has a pretty interesting logo history because when the series first started, there really wasn't a uniform look for it. Which I guess makes sense when you have games called shit like Faces. Tris 3. Moving on. In the early 90s, we got this segmented geometric style font that I actually really like the look of. It's very simple yet sophisticated. Like, it's Tetris, it knows how important it is. It kind of makes me wonder if they kept with this font. On second thought, yeah, maybe it's better if they changed it. But don't get me wrong, I still really like this, it just doesn't gel with the modern style of Tetris logos. That and, I mean, it's a game about blocks, it just makes sense to use a more blocky font. The only problem I have with this is, why did you do this to the eye? You know, there's a piece in Tetris called an eye piece, right? Like, it's how you get a Tetris. So why in God's name would you A, have the R overlap it, and 2, cut off the top to make a dot? Fortunately, they rectified this problem with a new logo in
2019? What?
Alright, so I didn't cover Pikmin last time because I didn't really have an attachment to the series for one thing. Fortunately, I've grown as a person since then, and for 2 thing, I really wouldn't have had that much to say. It literally would have just been about how it makes 0 sense for the 3 in the Pikmin 3 logo to be red since the new Pikmin and Pikmin 3 have purple flowers, so the 3 should have been purple to match, which is what they did for Pikmin 2, where the new Pikmin had pink flowers, so the 2 was pink, and Pikmin 4, where the new Pikmin have yellow flowers, so the 4 is yellow, which makes the 3 in Pikmin 3 the only one that doesn't match, which makes it incredibly stupid, even more so when you consider the fact that at E3 2012, when the game was first unveiled, the 3 actually was purple, so they made the conscious decision to make it not match, which makes 0 sense. I see, that was only a sentence. But of course, now I do have something to talk about. It's all thanks to this So when Pikmin 4 was announced, we got a look at the new logo. Instead of the entire thing being made out of Pikmin flowers like the previous games, only the number was flowers and the text was changed to a solid green with a single flower in the P. Okay, fine. Then Nintendo announced Pikmin 1 and 2 were getting ported to the Nintendo Switch, sporting new logos to match the Pikmin 4 one. Okay, fine. But this, of course, leads to a problem. Pikmin 3 is also on the Switch in the form of Pikmin 3 Deluxe. That still uses the old style of logo, making it look a bit out of place when it's next to all the other logos,
They did not.
They 100% did.
Allow me to go over a basic element of graphic design with you.
Colors are great. The world is a better place since our brains made up color. You know what's a nice color? Green. There's so much green on this planet, and it's so soothing to look at. But you know, when too many green things are near each other, it can be kind of hard to separate them. For example, if you have green text, it doesn't look very good on a green background. It becomes very hard to read. An easy way to rectify this is to use an outer stroke, otherwise known as an outline. If you use, say, white text and then give it, say, a green stroke, the text can be read on pretty much anything. The white text will stand out against a dark background, and the dark outer stroke will highlight the text on a light background. If you, for whatever reason, decide to ignore this fact, you know what you'll have to do? Use a cheap, tacky glow effect that looks so much worse and lower effort. My god, this looks so unprofessional. Like, you didn't even think this through at all, and it's your fault! The worst part is that this is an objectively worse design than the old one. This has actual personality and character, while this feels generic and corporatized. There, I fixed it, and it took me 30 seconds! It took them significantly more effort to make a significantly worse design. I'm the first person to have thought of this!
I have to be the first person to have thought of this, otherwise this definitely wouldn't have happened, so don't you feel stupid that you didn't think of it first! Man, it's wild how therapeutic throwing something big and expensive out the window can be. Alright, what do we got next? You know what, I think this thing's still got a couple more throws in it.
Alright, look, I know there is no possible conceivable dimension where this remains an official logo for a video game series, but man, there is so much charm in this. Is putting every letter in a ball a bit on the nose? Of course it is, but also, this is a series called Super Monkey Ball, and it looks like this. I think subtlety is off the table here. And the harsh shading and high contrast colors do just a little bit scream poorly aged late 90s, early 2000s CGI render, but that's okay. That's what makes these so fun to look at. Probably for the best that they changed it, but I don't care. The logo from the mid-2000s looks really nice. Bright colors, the rounded font, the super still gets to be in bubbles. It looks like a modern arcade-style logo, which Monkey Ball did start out as an arcade game, so this works really well. Then in 2019, Banana Blitz HD came out and... oh my god, they knew Super Mario Bros. It. You guys want to talk oversimplified logos? I can think of no better example. What in the two-tone, bland text, no character, lifeless husk, over-corporatized, stylist, steaming sack of shit am I looking at?
I feel like I get 10 years older every time I look at these.
This is hideous. This might be one of the most offensive things I've ever seen in my life, and we just looked at the Pikmin logos. It's a silly little game about monkeys and hamster balls. It's not the fucking Counter-Strike. Alright, I gotta stop trying this.
It just doesn't fit the style or gameplay of Monkey Ball at all. Like, it's an arcade-style game. It's not... You know what? Drop what you're doing. We're going on a tangent adventure.
Arcade machines are often grouped very densely together, and yet they would all like you to dump an unhealthy amount of money into them. So how do you grab someone's attention? With big, bold logos with sharp, contrasting colors and super intense fonts and a bunch of extra eye candy. Nobody should be able to read an arcade logo just by glancing at it, because the longer I spend trying to read what this says, the more interested in the game I become. I regret every decision I've made that led to this moment. And if I can read the logo at first glance, you better make damn sure it's the greatest looking arrangement of letters I've ever seen in my life. The original Monkey Ball understood this concept. You look at this and you go, Monkey Ball, that looks kind of cool. And the joystick is a banana? This is going to be the greatest game I've ever played. And then the second logo took that same idea and just modernized it a little bit, keeping the bright colors and the... I said all this already! The point is that both of these logos have a very arcadey feel, and that's important. This is Monkey Ball. There hasn't been a drastic gameplay overhaul or an earth-shattering reboot to warrant a logo like this. These games still are, for all intents and purposes, arcade games. So what the hell? But we're at a point in time where companies are trying to make their logos simpler. I don't agree with it, and everyone keeps making fun of them for it, but it's where we're at right now. So fine. How do you simplify the Monkey Ball logo while still keeping it appropriate for the series? Well, if we do a little of this, and then start over, and then do a little bit of that, and then start over again, and then pray to God third time's the charm, oh, okay. You know, I actually think this is a pretty nice compromise between the current and previous styles. A bolder font that's still rounded, not a lot of colors, but also not, you know, too. And it still pops without being too in your face. Only thing I'm not 100% sold on is the colorful ball's backdrop. I do think it helps tie the logo together, fills in the negative space, especially when you add a subtitle, and it does stand out against the box art more, but it also feels a little much. I don't know, either way, I still think it's better than what we have right now.
Also, one more thing. Can we cool it with the bananas in the subtitles? Like, I get that they're monkeys and bananas are the main collectibles, but there are other words. This didn't used to be a problem. What, was the entire creative team just sick on naming days, so the only people that were left were like, oh, well, they're monkeys, so we must just call it bananas. So, you know what, I'll be right back.
When I look at the Pokemon logos, one thing comes to mind. Missed potential. Huh. I guess these do actually fit the series pretty well then. Look, the Pokemon series logo is iconic, and I'm not about to sit here and tell you there's something fundamentally wrong with this. No, I think it works really well. Pokemon is a generally lighthearted and whimsical series, so bright colors and sharp angles fit really well. It's when we get to the words below this that we start running into problems. Why in the name of Poke God would you use a generic-ass font like this for your subtitle for 12 years? Seriously, besides the letters, what's different about these logos? Pokemon Emerald and Pearl are from 2 separate generations, but just looking at the logos, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Okay, when I edit the box art, that's not really fair, but the point still stands.
I wouldn't be this harsh. Actually, I probably still would be. But if you compare the English logos to the Japanese ones, my god, these are spectacular. Unburdened by the restrictions of the English logo, these get to have all the extra style and flair they want. And to be fair, the English logos eventually did get around to actually stylizing the subtitles, but unfortunately, they don't change the actual Pokemon logo itself, which just makes it all the more distracting and out of place. And both of these problems, the boring old subtitles and the jarring Pokemon text, could have been solved if they had just added, say it with me, an excessive amount of bevels and shine effects. I mean, color, you guys said color, right? One other thing, ever since Generation 6 of Pokemon games, they've added a new marketing gimmick, battle mechanic to each new generation. Each of these comes with some kind of symbol to represent them, which actually gets worked into the Japanese logos. So why not do the same thing here and replace, like, the accent of the E? Replacing all or part of a letter is always an easy way to inject some extra character into a logo. Plus, these gimmicks are such a huge part of the marketing, gameplay. Not including them feels like a huge missed opportunity. Especially if you've already done it somewhere else. I already brought up pretty much the most interesting example, but the differences a logo can have between regions can be fascinating to look at. Most of the time, you'll just get a simple translation with no change to the overall look of a logo. Sometimes the name of a game changes between regions, so you might see a word changed or removed, or you might see Europe adding football to the end of the Mario Strikers logos for no goddamn reason. Seriously, how are you guys so obsessed with this sport that you'd go out of your way to make a perfectly good logo excessively clunky? But occasionally, a logo will change drastically between regions, becoming nearly unrecognizable in the process. And my favorite example of this has to be Mario Party. The Japanese and English Mario Party logos from 1 to DS are so completely and totally different from each other, and for the life of me, I can't think of a single reason as to why. The colors, the effects, the patterns in the letters, and for some reason Japan has way more jagged and angular numbers. Like, it feels like someone said, hey, can I draw the 7 for this game? Okay, I'm done. I'm not saying one is better than the other. God, no, I actually really like all of these. I think both versions really capture the idea of a big, wacky celebration. And I like how in both languages, each logo is distinctly its own while still feeling like they're all part of the same series. Minus the English for the first 3 games because they're all the same. Not bad, mind you, the texture and muted colors give these a very cardboard arts and crafts look, which I think matches the visual style of the Nintendo 64 Mario Parties very well. I love how the character emblems are hidden in the text in the Japanese Mario Party 4 logo. I love the sun and moon patterns in the English Mario Party 6 logo, but you know what the actual best part of these logos is? The change in developers is obvious even here. My god, seeing all these logos in a lineup, you can see exactly where you will stop having fun. The shorter square text, the English and Japanese logos are basically identical now, and I didn't think adding more colors could make something feel more generic, but damn it, they found a way! This is what I mean when I say logos really give you a feel for the games they're for. You put Mario Party 5 and 9 next to each other, and while they both say Mario Party with a number after, they couldn't be more different.
Oh, would you look at that? We just passed the 8 months mark.
Ah, yes, the stupid big logo, because why be concise and to the point when you could be... not that. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. Yeah, you got enough adjectives on there, buddy? Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. Final Chapter Prologue, are you Dragon Quest 11S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. That's your legal name. Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R. I feel like I just had a stroke. Pac-Man Championship Edition DX Plus. Yeah, you gotta get that plus in. Can't forget that. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Supersonic, acrobatic, rocket-powered battle cars. Not gonna lie, that's kind of fun to say. Doesn't stop the logo from being a bit of a mess. Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter... Wait, we already did this one. Under Night, In Birth, X, Late, CLR... Last night, at the dawn, a young man shows up. Hellfire burns down the surroundings. The ice coffin quietly lies. So the time... Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle's a funny one. When the game was first revealed, the logo looked like this, which... How do you even begin to read this? Well, later they redesigned it, but instead of actually changing anything, they just slapped some actually readable words on top of the old logo.
I wish I had the ambition to be exactly what I wanted to be. I mean, clearly with enough confidence, you can even pull it off. You know, as much as today was less me actually analyzing video game logos and more so just showing off my amateur Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop skills, I don't want the main takeaway here to be that I think my designs are definitively better, or that I'm some sort of creative genius and only my logo ideas can work. I mean, after all, the people that made these logos got paid to do so. Meanwhile, I spent 30 plus hours making mine for free. Like a chump. The point of me creating my own logos was to show how complicated creating a logo can be, how much thought and effort goes into the tiniest of details, down to the spacing and orientation of a letter. You might not think that much about logos, but subconsciously you do. You notice those little details, those tiny flaws, those things that just feel off, but you can't really describe why. And that can be enough to drive you away from something. Creating a good logo is hard and takes a lot of care and effort, and even if I didn't personally agree with some of the logos we looked at today, somebody did because they got to be officially used for an official video game. And that's pretty cool. And just remember, if you disagree with any of my ideas or logo designs, I'm just some fucking schmo. Why do you care what I think?